Jersey Yogalicious. My name is Kat, and I am your sports certified Nesta instructor. I am working with you on the Demystifying Pantanjali, the Yoga Sutra book review, and today we are studying 1.7. Right understanding comes from direct perception, inference, and valid authority. You'll see the board in front of you says, do not take advice from men. Valid authority equals God or a higher power. I felt it was so important to put that up at the beginning to emphasize, do not take advice from men is what Pantanjali is teaching us in 1.7. And so we're going to go ahead and read from 1.7 today. If you're just joining us for the first time, please stop and pick up a copy of Demystifying Pantanjali. And if you can, start from my video 1.1 and then join us at 1.7 when you're ready. It'll make much more sense that way. Okay, so what are we talking about in 1.7, everyone? An American friend of Amanda's has spent years in prison, convicted of murder. Even though he insists he was framed, the man is accused of having murdered has been seen in Europe. And from all we can tell, the judge was highly prejudiced against him. My own faith in the justice of the law courts vanished on my own exposure to it years ago. It seems useless to trust in the justice of men. All we can trust as infallible is the law of karma. Very good stuff. In our own minds, however, it is important for us to see things truly. And this passage expresses the importance of right understanding and of what we have to do to achieve it. Direct perception is one tool on which we can rely, but only partially. Direct perception. Our eyes may tell us that the cloud on a distant hill is a mist, but the facts of the case may be what there really was smoke from a fire. Direct perception. Inference from false perception is useless. The last of these three, valid authority, is the most important of all. When it comes to simple earthly matter, valid authority may come to us by a phone call or from a radio report. When it comes to subtle matters, however, especially to spiritual ones, such as the question, does God exist? True perception is rare. Without true intuition, perception is not always reliable. So, we have to understand that if I am conscious, God must be conscious. If this is the case, it is my duty as a human being to open myself fully to his consciousness. So that is your answer going forward, is what the author is expressing here, is that through his own personal experiences, he needs God. That is the final tool for the right understanding. A valid authority. This essential key, God led himself to him, is what he's saying. So God led himself to him to be at the center of his life. He also says it lays in the Indian scriptures and in the Indian guru. I didn't know much at the time, however. I knew almost nothing about the Indian scriptures. And they'd called me to a way of life against which my entire upbringing would have militated fiercely. At just this time, my father was sent to his company to a distant land from New York to Egypt to search for oil. That this was entirely God's grace was made clear to me when his company later sent him elsewhere. Though another company came in subsequently and found oil exactly where my father had declared it would be found. He was a major influence in my life, but God released me from that influence. Months later, the very day I put my mother on a ship to go join him, I went uptown New York into a bookshop and I discovered the autobiography of a yogi by Yogananda. I have that book, by the way. Free to make this drastic change in my life, I took the next bus to LA. I met Yogananda, and I was accepted by him as his disciple. I have been his disciple now for 64 years. He has been my valid authority. So what if you say, well, I'm an atheist? Well, you need to find your higher power, okay? That's just what you need to do. Some translators have translated valid authority as scriptural authority, accepting the right understanding regarding spiritual matters. Scriptural authority, however, depends on unreliable factors such as interpretation, and in most cases the translations are from the translator's own understanding and the power of personal experience in the one who expounds the authority. The only real valid authority in spiritual matters is a person who has himself realized God. In other words, a true sat or guru. And yet the disciples of a true guru will themselves vary in their discernment. It is important, therefore, also to rely on one's own understanding of what the guru has taught. Even close disciples are capable of mistaking what their guru meant on some of the most fundamental points. For oneself, therefore, I would caution never be too sure of anything. Hear me on this. Never be too sure on anything in your life. Humility is the safest path to God, but the most important guidance can only come from clear intuition and perception. An inner attunement with the guru can give you such perception. So again, meditation, time alone, time with your higher power, time with your guru can help you to attain clarity for the things in your life. I was thinking this morning about my dear Aunt Nellie, who's passed. She was a third order Carmelite, and she follows Catholic rituals, and she takes a vow basically in her lifetime to follow the same things as the nuns would do, but she doesn't live where the nuns live. So she lived her life. She made a vow to live her life that way, and she went to her higher power, to her authority every day of her life, and that's how she chose to live. And I really thought about her when I was reading this particular sutra, because it takes great strength to make a choice of celibacy and to follow that. And I myself, being a married woman, I have to look at that and question why a person decides to take those vows. And everybody has different reasons. But when we read in the sutras, we understand one sure thing is to attain the higher power, enlightenment from the higher power, and that is on your path as a yogi. So please go back, read through your notes, read through 1.7 a couple of times. If you need to, make some extra notes on it. This is good stuff. For the young people especially, who tend to follow in flocks of groups and listen to their peers, and that is not valid authority. Okay, they're your friends. Yes, you trust in them. Yes, they have your back, etc. Maybe they do, that's fine. Maybe they don't. But you should always trust in a higher power and a valid authority for all things in your life, and that way you will not be led astray. I'll leave you with that thought and wish everyone a happy, safe weekend. Namaste.